Devil, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L, the devil.
What is going on, everybody? Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the Final Word with your boy, MattyB, here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network on a Super Bowl victory Monday, February the 10th, 2025. It is great to be here with you on this special night. That's it. Mission complete. Signed, sealed, and delivered. Eagles, Super Bowl 59 champions, 40-22 over the Kansas City Chiefs, completing what was a magical run through the National Football League in 2025. And now it's time, yes, it is, for the homers out there to take their victory lap. It's time for all you over-the-top Eagle fans, take your victory lap because you deserve it. You were right, and I was wrong. And I am big enough to admit those things. I am big enough of a man to admit those things. And, yesterday and tonight obviously is going to be racked with me and my – I will never apologize, and I still don't believe. I honestly don't. But I can't deny what I see. And I say this all the time on this program. I live in the world of reality, in the world of facts. And right now, the reality is the Eagles are the Super Bowl champions, deservedly so. They went out yesterday. Not only did they win the football game, they won it. They put an exclamation point on it. They kicked dirt in the Kansas City Chiefs' faces. They did everything they needed to do to cement themselves as Super Bowl champions. And I will not take that away. Nor will I discredit that, nor will I try to shoot holes in that, because that would be absolutely ridiculous. But what I, of course, will shoot holes in is a couple things, because with the win last night, and I had the privilege of doing both the pre and post game show yesterday here on the network, and I had to sit there, especially in the post game, and take my medicine, right? But what I will not sit here to do, and I think it was Al who brought this up to me. He said there was a lot of narratives that have been shut down, and that is absolutely true. But, of course, now there's going to be a lot of narratives that are opened up, and a lot of new narratives for me to kind of take up the charge on. And I wasn't ready for this yet. I mean, we are less than 24 hours removed from the end of the game, and I'm already starting to hear the dynasty word. I'm already starting to hear people talking about an Eagles dynasty. I mean, come on, man. Less than 24 hours removed from winning the damn thing, they're already looking ahead at winning a dynasty. So that's obviously the first narrative that I will take up the mantle against, talking dynasty, as we are literally less than 24 hours removed from winning the Super Bowl. The other narrative, of course, is the Jalen Hurts narrative. That for some odd reason the outcome of this football game yesterday had anything to do with the performance of Jalen Hurts. It had absolutely nothing to do with Jalen Hurts yesterday. It had nothing to do with anybody on the Eagles offense, actually. It had everything to do with the Eagle defense and their ability to somehow conjure up, forcing turnovers at an epic rate over the past 7 games. 13 turnovers the Eagles forced in the playoffs. 23 turnovers over the last 7 games going back into the regular season. If you want to know why the Philadelphia Eagles are the Super Bowl champions, look no further than that. And if you want to look further, which you can, look at that defense. Because that is the other reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Is because of that just, I don't know where it came from. I brought it up last night. Going into the season, it was all about the offense. Everyone was like, okay, we're good offensively. We have this piece. We got AJ, we got Devontae, we got Jalen, we got Saquon, who should come in and provide a good spark behind, as a running back, running behind that offensive line, all those great things. The offense is not the problem. But when we look at the defense, it's question marks here. It's question marks there. Did we do enough at linebacker? The drafting of secondary help, is that going to be enough to help the 30th ranked defense of 2023? Is that going to be enough? And did Howie Roseman do enough on the defensive side of the football? He obviously did, and then some. So that going into the season was one of the bigger question marks surrounding this team, and it has absolutely been the best surprise. And the reason, and I firmly believe this, the reason why they are Super Bowl champions is because of the defense, and nobody's really giving the proper credit to that defense. It's being sort of kind of dwelled out around Jalen friggin' Hurts for doing really the minimum amount of work behind center last night in order for the Eagles to win. The defense set Jalen Hurts up. The defense set the entire Eagle offense up. The defense scored its own points. The defense smacked Pat Mahomes in the face 6 times, put him on the ground. The defense disrupted any kind of offensive game plan that the Kansas City Chiefs had. The defense won the game for the Philadelphia Eagles. And give Howie Roseman his credit for what he did defensively heading into the season. I will do that. But I'm not going to sit here and try to create some sort of, once again, the homers are propping up Jalen Hurts like he is something special. He's not, man. He's an average to above average quarterback, and I'm tired of hearing the Jalen Hurts talk that he's something special. He's not. He's not. Jalen Hurts had nothing to do with that game yesterday. Not a thing. It's not hate. This is reality. So, of course, we're going to continue that narrative because the Jalen Hurts narrative will never end as long as there's homers that are champion the other side of that nonsense. The defense definitely deserves a lot of credit. And we'll get into giving the defense their credit. We're going to get into giving some credit to Howie Roseman, too. That's right, man. Mark the damn calendar. I'm going to give some credit to Howie Roseman. I have to. I can't not deny that. So, and then I also want to tell you from a personal side of how much, the other big thing that I've heard today is how this Super Bowl ranks in your own personal life. The first one back in 2017 was something that I guarantee you every Eagle fan has a similar reaction to. Tears. Oh my God, we did it, finally. Now this one comes along, and how did you react to that? Was there tears shed? I didn't shed any tears last night for the game. I honestly did it, and maybe that's because I am jaded and am out, but I don't know. I didn't shed any tears, but we'll talk about personal reactions to this Super Bowl versus the first Super Bowl. And then, of course, we're going to hit the dynasty thing because I think it's an obvious. I wasn't ready for it. I was letting the dynasty thing go. I was prepared to leave that on the ground and not pick it up until later on in the offseason. But the homers have already fired the first shot when it comes to the dynasty stuff. And I remember a similar conversation coming out of 2017 as well. And we saw how that worked out. So we'll get into all that tonight. And we'll try also to pivot to some baseball because we're 2 days away, folks, from the reporting of pitchers and catchers down in spring training. And we'll also get into some we're not really going to talk Flyers. I don't think I'm going to have time to talk to the Flyers tonight, nor do I have the patience to talk to Flyers tonight. We'll do all of the night segment and our card review as well. So let's get on for the ride because it's great to be here tonight. And it's great to be back with you, our first show of the week. And we didn't come on the air last night. I was part of the vaunted post-game and pregame coverage we had here on the network. So I want to thank Al, Sal, Mike for a great day yesterday on the network. We provided, I thought, pretty good coverage of what happened, and it was obviously the It's a Wrap Network, or It's a Wrap Sports Network, has himself a Super Bowl champion, so that's all good. But don't forget, everything here on this network or on the show and all the other shows is provided to you by the It's a Wrap Sports Network, and all we do, this bud's for you. All we ask for is a like, a subscribe, a shout out, and all publicity is good publicity. So if you don't agree with me, if you think I'm a complete fool, please voice your opinion. I bring it. I entertain it all. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into this. Golly, man, you guys are killing me right off the bat here. That's what I'm talking about. Barbara, how you doing? Yes, Barbara, it's been a minute. We haven't really spoken. Missed you over the weekend. You weren't involved in any of that, but good to see you. Good to hear from you. How you been? Well, Hurts led this team in rushing again, even with the all-time rusher there. It seems weird to me. Barbara, that's an interesting point. Yesterday, of course, in the game, Hurts was the leading rusher for the Eagles, and Steve Spagnuolo, let's give him credit where that's due. He was the first one to do it all season. He found the secret sauce to stop Saquon Barkley. Barkley on the day, 25 carries, 57 yards, a putrid 2.3 average per carry, and his longest of the day was 10. It was done. They did it. They did the thing I thought needed to be done to beat the Eagles was to beat Saquon Barkley, and they still weren't able to kind of win the game. And the 3 turnovers, I cannot understate the 3 turnovers and the fact that the Eagles have been such juggernauts when it comes to forcing turnovers. And it's lost. A lot of people out there are not even talking about it. They're not even thinking about it. It's lost on the importance of the overall scheme of how they won the Super Bowl. And then, of course, turnovers putting the offense in positions to do other things. Jalen Hurts running the football yesterday. Again, this is going to kind of support the Jalen Hurts thing. I'm not saying that a statue back there could have performed and done well, but it wouldn't have taken. Kenny Pickett could have ran the offense the same way, in my opinion, yesterday. Could have done the same thing. Kenny Pickett could have been as mobile as Jalen Hurts was. Jalen had more rushing yards. What was his rushing yards on the day? Jalen led the team in rushing. 72 yards with a 6.5 average and a touchdown. He threw for 221, 17 for 22, 2 touchdowns, and he was picked off once and sacked twice. Those are pedestrian numbers, Barbara. Those are average numbers. And when they shut Saquon down, Jalen rose up and he took over the mantle as a rusher. And he was a pain in the ass to the Chiefs. Ripping off some big runs there. You look at the adjustment phase of it, I guess. I don't know. Again, it's so hard for me to sit here and give Jalen Hurts a grade on this game because he was not involved in it. He was not a factor in the game at all. He was less of a factor in this game than he was in 22, and that was because of what the defense did for him and set him up in good positions to win the football game. Obviously, winning the MVP, I said it last night on the postgame, they should have gave it to the damn defense. That would have been a more viable option than giving it to Jalen Hurts. He wasn't the MVP in this game. Come on, man. He was the quarterback, and that's why you won it. And that really kind of degrades the award, if you ask me. Jalen Hurts wasn't the MVP of this football game. He wasn't. He was just the face of it. But you're right. They had the leading rusher in Saquon Barkley, but Jalen Hurts led the team in rushing last night. And it's a credit to the Chiefs for shutting down Saquon. It's a credit for the Eagles for adjusting, I guess. And it's a credit for Jalen Hurts to extend plays and keep things going because, once again, can't rely on his arm, so you rely on his mobility, and it's a X factor. It's a weapon, Barbara. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not. It is. Eagles defense was historically great. Hurts was definitely a passenger, even though his apologists are praising him for what. Again, Barbara, I've said this, and I don't hate. First of all, I don't hate Jalen Hurts. I'm not a hater of him. I don't think he's good. I don't. I don't think he's good. I think he's average to above average. And he did what he had to do. He was a game manager in that game last night. Jalen Hurts had nothing to do with the outcome of that football game last night. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. They didn't come from behind. They didn't have a furious comeback on the arm of Jalen Hurts and won a championship. And that's as we get deeper into the show, and that's going to be part of the dynasty conversation. Can you rely on Jalen Hurts to be your dynasty quarterback? Because what is one of the common threads that dynasties have? And that's an elite quarterback. We don't have that. So, absolutely right. The defense is the reason why they won the Super Bowl. The defense is the reason why they were there in the first place. The defense and Saquon Barkley were the reasons why they were there in the first place, and the defense is why they won. But we got to prop up the quarterback because that's what we do in this town. We try to fool ourselves into thinking we got something we don't. Jalen Hurts is an average to above average quarterback. I'll take him. I mean, it's not like I cast him aside, but he's not elite. He's not. Joe, how are you tonight? How am I tonight? I'm fine, Joe. How are you doing? Again, a lot of people think that I might be mad or upset. I'm not. I've tempted or I've contextualized everything I've ever said with I hope I'm wrong. And tonight I was wrong. And I'm glad they won the Super Bowl. It doesn't make me a believer. Still don't believe, but I'm glad they won the Super Bowl. And I'm glad it validates a great season by a lot of players. But once again, why can't we just leave that for that right now? But we got to start now talking dynasty. And to me, that's ridiculous. Based on how the team is constructed and who's running the team right now. We're going to get into all that, though, Joe, I promise. Because, I'm not going to let that go. Oh, man. Matt, Phil thinks Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFL. Now, it's beyond stupid. Those homers drive me nuts. Well, listen, Barbara, as far as Phil and the rest of them go, you got to give them their victory lap. They deserve it. You got to give them what they've earned. They're going to prop narratives of their own up, right? They accuse me of creating narratives. Well, they're going to create their own. And that's fine. They deserve it. They got the hardware. It's a done deal. It's great. It's a win. We all should be celebrating together. But unfortunately, I just can't stomach a lot of the stuff they say. He's far from the best quarterback in the NFL. And again, it's okay that he's not. He won a Super Bowl, but he's far from the best quarterback in the NFL. And but as far as that, they're going to say Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFL. They're going to say Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the NFL, which, of course, right now in 2025 he is. But does that mean he's going to be next season? Does that mean he's going to be the season after that? They're going to say Zach Bond is one of the better, if not the best inside linebacker in the NFL. Well, why wasn't Zach Bond given a multi-year contract before he hit free agency? Why didn't the Eagles do that? They're going to say that Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is a stud, but he played like 6 snaps. They're going to say a lot of things. They said Corey Clement was going to be a great running back coming out of the Super Bowl 52. How did that work out? It didn't work out, right? I mean, a lot of things magnified right now, Barbara, but and it's okay because right now, based on what the reality is, it's trending that way. So whether or not it's going to be that way heading into next season is a whole other conversation, a whole other different story. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. I'm very happy for them. I'm very happy that they did. And this is definitely the step in the direction that I wanted to go. And I wanted to start trending in this direction. But Homer's going to be Homer's, and that's unfortunate. Zach Bond and Cooper DeJean were the key additions to the defense, in my opinion. DeJean is my favorite player. Yeah, I mean, talk about having a birthday. He'll never forget. Pick 6 on his birthday, eating cake with Chris Berman on the ESPN dais after the game, winning a Super Bowl on his birthday, his rookie year in the league. Obviously, Cooper DeJean is probably, if you redraft if you're redrafting the draft last year, DeJean probably goes the pick before Quinyon Mitchell goes in the first round instead of going in the second round. And obviously, a lot of teams are kicking themselves for letting him slide as far as they did into that second round. Definitely has an upside of being one of the better, if not the best, one of the best cornerbacks, and having Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean right now, for the next 10 years, whatever it might be, could definitely be a diamond in the rough for Howie Roseman, and securing that backfield for at least the next 10 years. He had a great game. Was all over the place, and definitely deserves the kudos of what happened yesterday. Love the long ball from Hurts. Talking about the pass from Hurts to Devontae, the touchdown. That was a beautiful pass, man. Yeah, I'll give you that. It was a beautiful pass. The only pass down the middle of the entire game last night, which went for a 40-some-odd yard touchdown, but it was very good. It was very, very good. And as I said, I don't hate Jalen Hurts, man. He's an average to above average quarterback, but he's not elite. He's not. Joe asked me, what about the new offensive coordinator? Who do you want as OC? I've given it some thought, and it's an interesting point here in the Eagles organization, because now that somebody else has already let the genie out of the bottle when it comes to the word dynasty, and I'm going to pick it up and run with it. You want to continue in that way, right? It's not about developing young coaches anymore. Now it's about capitalizing on the window of winning. Now it's about shifting your attention from being the hunter to the hunted. And now they're the hunted. And you got to prepare yourself to be the hunted. And I think Howie has to go into the offseason with that mindset. Last time he decided to run it all back in 2018, and it didn't work. Now it's a little bit of a different situation. The team was made up differently a little bit. That 2017 team was more of a veteran-laden team. This is more of a younger side of a team, so there's not really going to be that much player turnover, I don't see, and I think the level of the player will stay pretty much the same and rise in some areas as well. So I'm not really necessarily worried about running that back, because that should be what they do, because they're young enough to do that, and that's what it's designed to do anyway. But as far as coaches go, you got to capitalize on that window of winning, and you got to bring in somebody that is going to be able to seamlessly insert themselves into the offense and be the right type of offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts, because he's not elite, right? So you're going to have to sit down. You have to have an offensive coordinator that doesn't have an ego. You're going to have an offensive coordinator who's probably not looking for another head coaching job or a head coaching job. You're going to want to have an offensive coordinator who's got enough experience around him that knows that when he sits down and says, okay, what do you want to do? And what kind of skill set do you think you can bring to the offense? And what kind of skill set I can bring to the offense? And we got to marry up a plan. Because we saw it with Kellen Moore, who, to be honest with you, is not a big loss, right? In my opinion. Jalen Hurts could never run Kellen Moore's playbook. Again, we're forgetting that as well. And it all that means nothing now because they won the Super Bowl, but they never ran the Kellen Moore playbook. They ran the Moriarty playbook. Now is it a situation heading into this season where you bring in the next offensive coordinator who sits down and says, I have a playbook, of course. I have a philosophy, of course. But what can I do to make it more user-friendly to you, the quarterback? Because I think that's what has to happen. And if it's not been happening with Jalen Hurts up to this point, that might be one of the reasons why nobody's really unlocked his full potential yet. So as far as that goes, it's got to be a veteran. It's got to be somebody who's not looking for a head coaching position and is comfortable as an offensive coordinator and has enough experience that he's already kind of been through the trials and the fires of coaching in the past. And yes, Frank Reich is the name that keeps popping into my mind. There's a connection between Reich and Sirianni. There's a connection there. There's obviously a connection between Reich and Philadelphia. And why not bring Frank Reich back? What Frank Reich did with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, mind you. Now, everyone seems to forget that what he did with Nick Foles, too, is pretty impressive. And that might be the type of offensive coordinator we need, somebody who doesn't have an ego about him and is really, truly wanting to do the best he can for the football team. So a Frank Reich type of guy, I'm not down for promoting the offensive or the quarterback coach into the offensive coordinator role. I'm not down for promoting the passing game coordinator into the offense. I don't want any kind of projects. If you want to capitalize on the window of winning, if you want to continue to build on the D word, the dynasty word, you're going to have to bring in a coach that can continue that for you. So Frank Reich would be my option here. Or somebody like that. I know I heard John Gruden's name launched around. That's an interesting name. I'd love to have John Gruden here. If anybody could make Jalen Hurts into an elite quarterback, it'd probably be him. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing John Gruden here, but somebody like that, someone who's got experience about him. You know what I mean? Someone like that. Is Josh Lamar elite or Joe Burrows? Josh Allen, Lamar, or Joe Burrows, are they elite? Honestly, a lot of people use the elite word. They throw it around. And to be honest with you, the only elite quarterback that I can tell you that's currently in the NFL is Pat Mahomes. And he is elite. Terrible game yesterday. Worst game maybe of his life, but he is an elite quarterback. And even getting trounced up and down the field, people were still on the edge of their seat to the end, and he did end up scoring over 20 points in a game where they had no business scoring over 20 points, and he still Pat Mahomes it up a little bit there at the end. So Pat Mahomes to me is the only really elite quarterback in this league, but Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrows, I would take any one of them over Jalen Hurts. Any one of them over Jalen Hurts. We forget, Mike, how one-layered this offense was all season long. You take away the 2,500 yards. Oh, by the way, congratulations for Saquon Barkley. Even though he did not have a good game yesterday rushing, he still set the record of most rushing yards in a single season to include the playoffs in NFL history. You forget how one-layered the offense was, though. It was Saquon Barkley or nothing this year. I mean, we were driven completely around Saquon Barkley. Do you honestly think that's going to happen in 2025? You think Saquon Barkley is going to come out and have another 2,500-yard rushing season and not get hurt? I mean, come on, Mike. That's not a smart thing to think of. And if you take Saquon out of the mix, are the Eagles offensively in the Super Bowl? If you take the Saquon Barkley effect out of things, where are the Philadelphia Eagles offensively in 2024? Does Jalen Hurts do enough to take them to a Super Bowl? Again, we forget, heading into the bye, after the Week 4 loss in Tampa and into the Week 5 bye, they revamped their offensive strategy because they didn't trust their quarterback. They took the pressure off of Jalen Hurts. They took the responsibility off of Jalen Hurts to be the quarterback. They made him a game manager. I didn't do that. They did that. They were 3-8 since the San Francisco 49er game in 2023 to include the playoffs up to the Week 4 game in 2024 against Tampa. They were 3-8 in that stretch of games. And their quarterback was throwing interceptions like they were going out of style. And they revamped their offense completely around Saquon Barkley. Ingeniously did that because it led them to a Super Bowl. That's not me. That's what they did. I could give you numbers up and down the avenue, and then I always go back to this middle of the field number. 22 passing attempts for Jalen Hurts. One time he threw the ball to the middle of the field. Once, and that was the touchdown to Devontae Smith. In the postseason, 91 passing attempts. 13 times they threw the ball to the middle of the field. 7% of the Eagle passing offense through the playoffs was through the middle of the field. These are all mute points, though. The Eagles won the Super Bowl, Mike. I mean, but if you're asking me for dynasty, if we're going to start going there, and I did not want to go to dynasty, but it's been thrusted on me and someone's already thrown down the mantle in my face. So let's talk dynasty. Jalen Hurts would not be my choice to be the dynasty quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's limited into what he's able to do. And I hear that from the homers too. One side of the homer's mouth is he does what he's supposed to do. I don't want him. I don't need him to throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns in a game. I just need him to do what he's supposed to do. I don't know what that means. But that's them trying to talk themselves into Jalen Hurts being more than what he is. And again, I stress this over and over again. Jalen Hurts is okay. There's far less quarterbacks out there than Jalen Hurts. And it's not a bad situation to be in to have him. It's not. And he's a Super Bowl winner. Right? He's settled that argument. Is he a winner now? Right? Yeah, he's a winner now. Even though he had nothing to do with winning the Super Bowl, he's a winner. He is. And he's a Super Bowl MVP, even though he was not the MVP last night. So, my narratives have all been shut down because he has proven himself. Because he's a winner now. Because of what he did last night was the reason why the Eagles won that game. He was responsible for it. The elite quarterback was responsible for winning that game last night. So, I got no bullets left, man. I got none. Is there someone from the McVay tree that can hire as OC and maybe improve Hurts? I don't know. Do you want really Sean McVay's tree involved in this? I don't know about that, Barbara. I don't know about that. Sean McVay. Doesn't Sean McVay come from the Andy Reid tree, sort of like roundabout? Or does he come from the Bill Belichick tree? I don't know. Chip Kelly was available, Barbara. Would you want that? I don't know. I think Frank Reich would be a good. Listen, Barbara, honestly, somebody with experience really is all I'm looking for. I don't want nobody out of St. Mary's Prep trying to make a name for themselves. The Eagles should hire someone that's got some experience that can capitalize on this window of winning. It's my opinion. I would love, yeah. So would I, Joe. Doug Peterson, I think there's too much history there. I think it's too much recent history. Doug Peterson's going to take the job as the Eagles offensive coordinator. I don't know, man. What's he going to point to Nick Sirianni? This is my statue out there. I don't know. I don't know if that would work, man. I don't know if that dynamic would work along the sidelines. And again, I'm going to get to Nick Sirianni too. I'm definitely going to get to him too. But I don't know if that dynamic works there. Yeah, you got two Super Bowl winning head coaches who've won Super Bowls for the same team. I don't know, man. Frank Reich or John Gruden, who wants back? Yeah, I heard that. I did hear John Gruden wants back in the NFL. I'd be definitely into listening to that. Absolutely. But I don't know, is this soft-ass NFL? Will they let John Gruden back after what he allegedly did or allegedly said? I don't know. I say do it. The hell with it. Frank Reich got fired how many times now? No, I'm not sure about him, honestly. He got fired as a head coach, though, Barbara. As an offensive coordinator, he kind of left on his own. He left San Diego to come to Philly for Doug, right? He wasn't fired. Before San Diego, he was where? Was he in Indianapolis as a coordinator? Listen, sometimes it doesn't work out as a head coach. Vic Fangio is a perfect example. Vic Fangio right now is the greatest defensive coordinator to fall from on high. He was a terrible head coach. Sometimes it doesn't work out as a head coach. Hurts pass for 2,000 yards, 2,905 yards. That's near the bottom of the NFL. Yeah, but careful, Barbara. Don't be careful. Be careful. The homers are going to hear you, Barbara. They're going to pull you out of your warm bed at night and send you to a re-education camp. They're going to tell you the retort to that's going to be that he didn't have to. He didn't have to throw for more yards because of Saquon Barkley. And that's yes, it's true. He did not. But the question still remains, can he? Can he throw for more yards? Can he put the team on his back? Can he be the leader of this football team? The elite leader of this football team. I guess the word elite is what everyone's getting wrapped around, to include me. Maybe I should stop using the word elite. Maybe that's the problem. All-time great. There you go. Let's go with that one. Let's go with GOAT. Let's go with the GOAT because now apparently we're talking dynasty. So let's start talking Jalen Hurts as the GOAT of quarterbacks, which is at least the homers ain't saying that. At least they're not completely off the res and calling him the GOAT. Thank God. Maybe after another Super Bowl they are, but right now they're not. But you're right, Barbara. But the question's going to go, can he? He didn't have to this year. That is evident by the defensive play and the play of Saquon Barkley. So if I was going to rank the reasons why the Eagles are Super Bowl champions, defense is here, Saquon is here, and that's it. There's two things. Those two reasons are the reason why they won the Super Bowl. If the defense does not play, and it's funny because the defense, it took them almost, 6 weeks to kind of round into form. There was one point, I think around week 5 or so, they were the 28th best defense in the league, and they finally rounded into form. And that was around the time that Quinion and Cooper came in on, starting roles. But if the defense doesn't play the way they played, and I mean like to the T, like if they dropped off just a slight bit, I don't know if the Eagles win the Super Bowl. And the turnovers are a big factor in that too. I cannot stress this enough. 23 turnovers over 7 games. That is amazing. It's over 3 turnovers a game for 7 games. It's going to get lost in time. It's going to get lost in the archives of how important the turnovers were for this football team heading down the stretch. And that was all by the defense. So if the defense doesn't play the way they played last year or this year, if they step down just a little bit, I don't know if they win a Super Bowl. And of course, if Saquon Barkley doesn't rush for over 2,500 yards, I don't think they win a Super Bowl. Because if you remove Saquon Barkley from the equation, and you chop the Eagle defense down just slightly, what kind of team are you looking at right there? You're looking at a playoff team? Are you looking at a Super Bowl champion? I don't think you are. And I think Howie has to look at that heading into the offseason, especially if they want to start using the D word. He needs to layer his offense. He needs to make his offense more dynamic. He needs to do something in order to unleash whatever Jalen Hurts might have, in my opinion. Why can't Philly have a dynasty but other cities have? I mean, the Steelers had a dynasty with Terry Bradshaw. They had Terry Bradshaw, but they also had Lynn Swann. They had Mean Joe Green. They had Franco Harris. They had a defense that was completely off the charts. A bunch of 9 Hall of Famers. And Terry Bradshaw in his day was a hell of a quarterback. Throwing into lesser wide receivers, mind you, than what Jalen Hurts throws. So I'm not saying, Michael, that they can't have a dynasty. I am certainly not saying that. And I honestly want that to happen. But I don't think – I just don't believe in the players they have here for that. You're talking to the wrong guy here, Michael. I didn't believe in this team all year. I haven't believed in this team since 2019. You're talking to the wrong guy. I don't know. They can. Of course they can have a dynasty. I'm not saying they can't. And I'm not saying I don't want them to. I just don't think they got the people. I really don't. McVay comes from the channel. Oh, okay. So, all right. It's pretty, what's 1 or 2 forks on that tree? It's not the branches in that tree are not that good, right? Frank Reich is a better OC. Yeah, absolutely. Proven over and over again. They hate me already. Who's they, Barbara? Josh McCown would be a good OC. Josh McCown would be a good OC here in Philly. Again, Joe, that's correct. Someone along those lines. Someone that's got experience. Someone doesn't necessarily have the inclination to want to be a head coach because the poor guy. I mean, I got to cut Jalen Hurts a little slack here. I mean, the guy needs some continuity, for God's sakes, man. Give him an offensive coordinator for more than 2 seasons. You would like to see him get a little continuity there. So, obviously, somebody that does not want to push himself for a head coaching position, somebody that I would go for. But somebody with some experience. What Barkley any defense will be hard to do again. Absolutely. And that's why every single season is different, Barbara. And, we went through this before in 2017. We automatically assumed that Jay Ajayi was going to have another great year. We automatically assumed Carson Wentz was going to plug himself back into 2017 mode. We automatically assumed that the defense, even though they were older and a little bit more, I mean, I'm not going to compare the 2 defenses, obviously, but that we were going to get a little bit more juice out of those guys. And, Howie had no choice but to run back the 17 squad because, I mean, you just won a Super Bowl. But, and with this group, it's different because of the youth. I understand, but there are some pieces, and let's bring that up right now. Right now, heading into the offseason, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Zach Bond, Mekhi Becton, Devontae Maddox, C.J. Usma, Milton Williams, LaRaven Clark, Rick Lovato, Fred Johnson, Oren Burks, Jack Driscoll, Nick Gates, Isaiah Rogers, Britton Covey, Ken Gainwell, and Ben Van Sumeren are all going to be free agents. And that's not listen, as far as amount of free agents, that's pretty manageable. There's been years where there's like 25 of them, like literally half the roster, but this year it's a little low. But a lot of those names that I read off played pretty important roles in winning the Super Bowl. And the Zach Bond thing mystifies me. The guy had an all-pro year. The guy finished 5th in the all-defensive player of the year vote. Why wasn't he given a contract before hitting free agency? And no one's talking about that. No, everyone just starts saying, well, Howie needs to give him a contract. Well, why wasn't he given a contract when the getting was good? When they had exclusive negotiating rights with the guy? Why wasn't he given a contract? Does Howie truly, really just not care about the linebacker position? We went through this coming out of what? 22, right? When we lost TJ Edwards and I know Nick Morrow wasn't anything to take a stick at, but when we lost both of them and we decided to plug and play, it didn't work. Howie got lucky again with Zach Bond. He got lucky with the resurgence of Nakobe Dean if he could stay healthy. Why would you poke the bear again? You just won a Super Bowl, and Zach Bond had an interception and was part of that defensive resurgence. Why would you poke the bear and not just give him an olive branch of a 3-year contract? You could probably talk Zach Bond into a 3-year deal, or you could have. I don't understand that, man. I think Howie understands that Jalen has limitations. I mean, Terry Bradshaw only threw for a little over 3,700 yards one time and only twice over 300 yards passing in his career. Terry had Franco, Stallworth, and Swan. Yeah, and and he also, listen, Mike, I understand. There's quarterbacks that are up and down the pike that we can compare Terry Bradshaw or Jalen Hurts to. Hell, Eli Manning. Oh, there's a name. I mean, Eli Manning, if you look on the surface of his career, wasn't really all that good, but inside the numbers, man, he threw for a lot of yards. He won 2 Super Bowls, and he beat some juggernaut teams along the way, and he had the history of come from behind wins. Listen, he's not a sexy pick, but right now Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Jalen Hurts isn't. No, who knows? Jalen Hurts might be a Hall of Famer at the end of his career, but to sit here to compare Terry Bradshaw and Jalen Hurts, I'm not going to do that because it's not relevant here. And to compare Jalen Hurts to Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, to his contemporaries, here in the modern day NFL, you're sitting here telling me that you are okay with, like, if you had a choice of any of those quarterbacks, you would take Jalen Hurts? I mean, come on, Mike, would you really do that? If you would, good for you. You're loyal, but Jalen Hurts, come on, you can see with your own eyes what his limitations are. And dynasty teams don't have limited quarterbacks. Tom Brady didn't have any limitations. Terry Bradshaw really didn't have many limitations. Joe Montana certainly did not have limitations. And Pat Mahomes doesn't have limitations, right? And another question, is this still the Chiefs dynasty? Do the Eagles got to win next year, or does somebody else got to win next year to officially end the Chiefs dynasty? I think we're still living in the Chiefs dynasty. I think we are. But I get what you're saying, Michael. I do. And again, I want to preference all this by saying I'm not anti-Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to sit here and badmouth a guy that just is part of a Super Bowl championship team. But I'm not going to over-evaluate him or overhype this guy like he's something special. He's a dime a dozen right now to me. There's many more quarterbacks better than him. I would trade him if I could. If there was an offer out there, I would trade Jalen Hurts. Just like I would trade Saquon Barkley right now. If there was like a Herschel Walker-like offer on the table out there. How much more tread on the tires is Saquon Barkley going to have heading forward? Jalen has Saquon and Smith and Brown. Yeah. Zach Bond was only a good special teams player on the Saints. Nobody expected. Yeah, absolutely. And he came out of nowhere, Barbara, man. Definitely part of the reason why they won that Super Bowl. 100%. Becton, in my opinion, takes a team-friendly deal. I think Howie signs Braun and Sweat and Milton Williams walks. I agree with the Becton thing, but why? I don't think I think Sweat's gone. I think Milton Williams is gone. And I honestly think Zach Bond is gone. Why didn't Zach Bond get re-signed? I think he's going to take that as disrespect. I do. I think they all leave, with the exception of Becton. I think they re-sign Becton, and I think the others leave. I'm just telling you. Howie not liking linebackers isn't just a Howie thing. It's an Eagles organizational thing. It was 10 years old when the Eagles drafted. Okay, but that's not like, come on. I get what you're saying, but there's no correlation between the two. When Howie Roseman took the job as GM, he was told he can never draft a linebacker. I mean, come on. I don't think there's any coincidence between. There's a reason. I don't know what that reason is. You're right. The Eagles have an organizational history of not drafting linebackers, but that's not why Howie's not drafting linebackers. It's not a sexy position. It's not a position of defensive importance, but we've seen it over the last few seasons be very important. It got him to almost to a Super Bowl championship in 22, and it took him to a Super Bowl championship this year. So just like running back is back in the spotlight of very important positions, linebacker, which I don't think ever should have been taken out of the spotlight, needs to be re-elevated. Quick Google check. Eli Manning had almost 60. There you go. See, look at Barbara doing the Eli Manning stuff. I just threw his name out of the hat there. 60 yards passing and 366 total, or 366 touchdowns, both top 7 in NFL history when he retired, plus 2 Super Bowls. Yeah, the Eagles have never had a quarterback as good as you. I agree with you. And the Super Bowl wins that Eli Manning had, I mean, good God, battling the undefeated Patriots, and then battling the Patriots again. You know, I mean, listen, you got to give credit there as well. Absolutely. But all those quarterbacks have not won a Super Bowl. Josh Lamar, 100% correct. But does Josh Allen have a defense like the 2024 Eagles? Does Josh Allen have Saquon Barkley? Lamar Jackson's got Derrick Henry. But did he have the defense? Joe Burrow's team's a mess right now because it's Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and that's it. Right? Again, Mike, you're kind of supporting my... Did Jalen Hurts directly impact the Eagles winning a Super Bowl this year? If you take Jalen Hurts out of the mix in 2024, do the Eagles win the Super Bowl? I say they do. Absolutely say they do. Jalen Hurts wasn't out there causing turnovers. He kind of was, but he wasn't doing it for the positive of the Eagles. Jalen Hurts wasn't rushing for over 2,500 yards. Jalen Hurts had his options taken from him. He was limited. He was told to stop being a quarterback at the bye week because they couldn't deal with the turnovers anymore. 3-8 from the 49er game up to the Buccaneer game, 23 into 24. And then I'd have to research the interceptions, but I was tracking them for a while there. They were pretty significant. So they said, enough's enough. We're not letting him be a quarterback anymore. We're taking away a lot of his responsibility, and we're putting it on Saquon Barkley. We're putting it on the offense, and hopefully the defense rounds into form. So absolutely, you're correct, Mike. Neither one of them have won a Super Bowl. But if you take Jalen Hurts out of the mix, do the Eagles still win a Super Bowl? Search your feelings deep for that one, because I think you might be surprised in the answer. I think the Eagles franchise tag Braun and Milton Williams takes the the Eagles. I don't think Howie's ever used the franchise tag, and if we're going to go organizationally again, with they never used the damn thing. But I wouldn't be against it. Tagging Braun, absolutely. Milton Williams is not taking a friendly deal. Milton Williams is going to go get paid. Absolutely, 100% going to go get paid. Becton might, but I don't think Williams will. Eli has the same amount of Super Bowl wins as his brother Peyton, who's in the Hall of Fame. Peyton Manning is probably on my all-time quarterback list, like number 5. I would put Eli down like at number 10. I'm not a big Eli guy, but he was sneakily good. So does Kenny Pickett win a Super Bowl? Absolutely. Why not? What tells you that he wouldn't? What did Kenny Pickett or what did Jalen Hurts bring to bear that Kenny Pickett could not have? I'm honestly asking, what truly made Jalen Hurts special? So you're telling me that what Jalen Hurts did yesterday impacted that win? If we're talking about just yesterday in the Super Bowl, what did Jalen Hurts do to impact that game? He extended some plays with his legs. Kenny Pickett can do that. Threw a beautiful touchdown to Devontae Smith. I've seen Kenny Pickett throw good balls. Relied on his defense to force 3 turnovers and put the Eagles into position to win the game. Kenny Pickett had nothing to do with that. Jalen Hurts had nothing to do with that. I'm absolutely going to tell you that the Eagles could have won that Super Bowl without Jalen Hurts. 100%. 100%. Unfortunately, that's how I feel. And if you search your feelings, you might be pretty surprised at what you might feel as well. So Pittsburgh gave him a pick. I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Okay, this is not lobbying for Kenny Pickett. I'm just telling you what I saw from Jalen Hurts was nothing more than a game manager who has above average skills. That's all I saw from Jalen Hurts all season long. And if you're telling me that if any one of the factors that led the Eagles to a Super Bowl, that if you had the defense, Saquon, and then put Jalen Hurts on that list, which one of those 3 that the Eagles could have lost and still won a Super Bowl? Which one of those 3 factors, if they had to lose, still would have impacted them limitly so they could have actually still won the Super Bowl? If you take the Eagle defense out of the mix, do they win the Super Bowl? No. You take Saquon Barkley out of the mix, do the Eagles win the Super Bowl? No. You take Jalen Hurts out of the mix, do the Eagles win the Super Bowl? I don't know. I'm just saying, what the Eagles did to the quarterback position, regardless if it was Jalen, Pickett, Tanner McKee, Nick Foles, Carson Wentz, whoever, what they did to that position after the bye week was completely limit the quarterback's responsibilities to win football games. They put it on the shoulders or the feet of Saquon Barkley. Don't get mad at me for just looking at the facts. You all know the truth. You just don't want to accept it. And again, this is not, I want to be happy tonight and celebrate a Super Bowl win. Because at the end of it, doesn't matter. They still won the Super Bowl. But to elevate Jalen Hurts and put him up here to some sort of like elite mantle of godlikeness, he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything special to get them here. He didn't do anything special to win this game. It's just the facts, man. Just the facts, Jack. I can see Eagles trading. Myles Garrett would be a decent play. That would be nice. Myles Garrett for Sweat. How's this? Myles Garrett, Cleveland's first-round pick in 2025, Cleveland's first-round pick in 2026, their second-round pick in 27 and 28, and a third-round pick in 29. Myles Garrett for Josh Sweat and Saquon Barkley. Do you do that deal? Do you do that deal, Joe? I do it. I do it today. All the Laurie Eagle quarterbacks were run first guys, Randall McNabb, and even Jonathan Hurts. Yeah, they were. Was Wentz a run first quarterback though, Barbara? Was he drafted for his mobility, or was he drafted for more of his quarterback build and his IQ? I don't know about Wentz. I'll give you the others. I'm not sure about Wentz. Wentz was sneakily mobile and sneakily quick. And good God, man, what could have been, right? I know he was a terrible teammate and he was all about himself and whatever, but that would have been all masked, of course, if you won a Super Bowl or two. But boy, all right. Wow, we are 55 minutes into this show, and I have not even pivoted off to any of the other topics. I mean, that's good stuff, man. I appreciate this. So I guess we're gonna bypass on your day in Philadelphia sports history because it's actually crew related. That's right, rowing related. I don't shy away from the facts, man. If they fall on a day, we'll talk about it. But we're gonna bypass that tonight. See, now we're 55 minutes into the show, so we're not going to talk about the crew related your day in Philadelphia sports history. I would do Barkley trade, absolutely, yes. Again, Barbara, and we brought this up yesterday on the post game. Matter of fact, Steve brought it up a while ago. Win or lose in the Super Bowl, do you look at potentially moving Saquon Barkley in a Herschel Walker-like trade right now at his most valuable that he will be? Because God forbid next year he can step on the field and play one, him go left, his knee go right, and that's the end. So do you look at that and maybe look at moving Saquon for a Herschel Walker-like trade? Stop. Do you look at moving him for like a type of trade like that, like multiple first-round picks, to set you up for the next 3 or 4? Stop it. Set you up for the next 3 or 4 years. Because how much tread does Saquon Barkley have left on his tires? That would be a very smart trade for the Eagles to look into. But there you go. That's my 2 cents on the Saquon Barkley thing. But all right, I guess, can we talk about some baseball? 2 days before friggin' pitchers and catchers report, man. You guys are getting me off my game here. Let's go with some hot stove. Let's do a hot stove. Let's do the hot stove on the program tonight. Let's do it. There's my little thing. All right, this is the It's a Wrap Sports hot stove tracker. The hot stove is dying down, man. The embers are getting cold as we're getting that ever so close to the start of spring training. Let's go real quick through it. These are moves that this was effective as of February 4th. Ian Gilbert, the right-hand pitcher, going from Cincinnati to Cincinnati on a minor league deal. Ryan Brazier, right-hand pitcher, going from the Dodgers to the Cubs on a player to be traded for a player to be named later. Owen White, a pitcher from Cincinnati heading to the Yankees, was claimed off waivers. Brendan Shoemaker was also a shortstop, Kansas City to the Yankees, claimed off waivers. Ben Gamel, the outfielder, going from Houston to Houston on a 1-year deal. Carlos Carrasco now is on his way to the Yankees from Cleveland on a minor league contract with an invite to spring training. Michael Hellman, the second baseman, going from Minnesota to St. Louis, traded for cash considerations. And Nicky Lopez from the White Sox to the Cubs on a minor league deal. Brandon Hughes, the right-hand pitcher from Arizona to Arizona on a minor league contract. Jack Flaherty, big free agent pickup by the Detroit Tigers, going from the Dodgers to the Tigers on a 2-year deal. Danny Coleman from Baltimore to Minnesota on a 1-year deal. Harrison Bader leaving the Mets on his way to the Twins on a 1-year contract. Interesting move. Connor Joe from Pittsburgh now in San Diego on a 1-year deal. Tim Hill staying in New York on a 1-year contract with an option for 26. And there you have the most up-to-date free agent tracker, or the hot stove report. Of course, the names are getting they're getting a little bit more they're winding down, but Alex Bregman still circulating out there as a free agent. Pete Alonso, who reportedly signed a contract with the Mets, a 2-year deal, but I think it's pending a physical. But he's technically still a free agent, but I think he's pretty much a done deal. So that pretty much leaves Alex Bregman as the only free agent really kind of left hanging out there with any sort of, pizzazz left to his name. Are the Phillies in the, I reported this about a month ago that the Phillies were in the market allegedly for Bregman. They were just looking to make a trade for Alec Boehm. but nothing has happened yet, and Bregman's still circulating out there. So I don't know, man. I was against the Bregman trade, or I was against Bregman coming here from the very beginning, but because of the Phillies' inactivity all offseason and the fact that the rest of the National League, let's face it, has gotten better than them, I wouldn't be so against it now, honestly. Honestly, would not be against it. Bring in Bregman here. I would definitely do the trade if it's a good one. I don't want another MB situation. Yeah, I mean, we're going back to the Barkley. Listen, it's not a crazy thing. And if Howie would do something like that, all would be forgiven, man. I'd be back on Team Howie. If Howie had enough, I mean, we want to claim he's the greatest GM ever. If you have enough gumption or foresight to look at this and say, you know what, Saquon, thank you for what you did, but I am obviously not going to be able to rely on you to rush for 2,500 yards over the next 2 seasons at your advanced age and your advanced carries. So you know what? I am going to flip you for about 3 years worth of first-round draft picks. I'm going to set this organization up for the next 10 years because of you. If Howie were to do something like that, that would get me back on Team Howie in a heartbeat. So and the last thing you want to be doing is to be stuck with a Saquon Barkley. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen because of what, he's got 2 more years left on his deal. I don't see that happening, but why not strike when the iron is hot? Every time I watch the MLB Network, I card show. I like Carter. I watch it all the time too. Where do you think Bregman goes, Joe? I think Bregman, and I was just talking about that. Again, I was not into Bregman. I think Bregman eventually will re-sign with Houston. I know they just traded Presley to make some cap room. Altuve said he restructured his deal. They're trying to make something happen here for Bregman. But again, as I said, because of the Phillies' inactivity this offseason, I would not be against the Phillies bringing Bregman here. I would absolutely not. And I think this would be if anything, an olive branch to the fans from Dombrowski. Because, I mean, I know it seems like it's still a million miles away, but it's literally 2 days away from the Phillies and from pitchers and catchers reporting. And it's not going to be long before we're deep into baseball. And I can focus my attention on lambasting the Phillies instead of the Eagles. But how can Dave Dombrowski look the Phillies faithful in the face after a offseason of inactivity and say that I still feel comfortable and confident that I have a World Series winning team on my hands? I think right now, what are they? The top 4th? They're 4 in baseball. I think I saw a power ranking not too long ago. They were the 4th best. I don't know how they assess that, but how can Dombrowski look at us in the face and say, I'm okay with what we have based on what we've seen over the last 3 seasons, 22, 23, and 24? How can he do that? And with the window of winning, as we've spoken about it with the Eagles, now they're all of a sudden in this window of winning, capitalizing on their opportunities. Kyle Schwarber heading into the final year of his contract, JT Realmuto heading into the final year of his contract. How can he look at us in the face and say, I'm okay with offensively how this team is? So bringing Bregman here to me would be, if it's I don't want an 11-year contract. I don't even want a 7-year deal, and I don't want a 5. I want like a 3-year deal for Bregman. If they could work something like that, that would go a long way into trying to maybe win the fan base back. Because right now, I'm trying to see where this team's going to be offensively. I don't see it. I really don't. So where do I think Bregman goes? Ultimately, I think he goes back to Houston. Where would I like him to go? Would be against bringing him here. Mets got Soto, but they haven't really improved their pitchers. Now Bader too. But I don't know, Barbara. They've added a lot of pieces. Now, whether or not those pieces work out or is a whole other thing. I like what they've done with Minter in their bullpen. I think that helps them out. Bader losing Bader. That's a hard move. That's tough for the Mets. But I still like the Mets, man. I think the Mets are better than the Phillies right now. And that's terrible for me to say that, but I really do believe that. Would I take Cooper Kupp or Deebo Samuel for what? I mean, I do need a WR3, right? Right? Dotson can't be the option next year, correct? I would take him, but what would I take him for? What do you want in return? It all comes down to that. I wouldn't give you a 2nd round pick or a 1st round pick. I give you a 4th. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a 3-25 and a 4-26 for Cooper Kupp right now. For Debo, I give you straight up a 3rd round pick this year for him. You want to do that? You want to do that deal, Joe? Bone was yeah, I saw that. I saw that, Barbara. Absolutely saw that. But there you go with our hot stove update. Show kind of got off the rails a little bit tonight because of the Eagles, but that's okay. One last thing though about the Eagles. I do want to get back into the Eagles real quick because it has dawned on me last night with the Super Bowl, with the win. What did that win mean for you? And I'm going to explain to you what I mean. And as I said at the opening of the program, back in 2017 when they won it, I think we all felt the same sense of relief that we finally won one of our own, right? And 2, we actually lived to see it, which sounds stupid, but I was starting to kind of question that for a while. So I think there was a lot of relief and getting the monkey off the back, getting that first one. Winning last night was funny, and I don't know if this is because of the jadedness that I have towards the organization, but I felt great, but I didn't feel nothing like I felt in 2017. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I don't know if is that arrogant to feel that way? Is that do you start losing the hunger when you start winning multiple Super Bowls? Everyone says, well, and of course we as Eagles fans don't know these, didn't know it then, but now we do. What's it like to win multiple Super Bowls? Do they feel the same? Do they feel different? And I'm here to tell you personally, from my standpoint, it felt different. It did. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy it. I'm not saying that I didn't, revel in it a little bit, but I know in 2017, I couldn't sleep that night. I was so excited. I went to the parade. I'm not going to the parade this year. It was a sense of relief from that first Super Bowl. And this one is a sense of, accomplishment, validation. Yes. But as far as relief and exhilaration, I don't have that same feeling. And I wonder, as I said, if it's because I am what I am towards the Eagles these days, or if this is a feeling that a lot of other Eagle fans have had. And I haven't really listened to much sports radio today. Matter of fact, I didn't listen to any. So I'm not really sure what the pulse around town is. But I found that, not conflicted, but I'm sitting there watching and I did post-game activity last night, so maybe I didn't really have time to let it kind of process, but I have since then. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy, and I've been reliving some of the moments from the game, looking at the tweets and looking at the Facebook videos and all that. And it feels great, but it definitely feels different than it did in 2017. And I'm just wondering how you guys feel about that. And is it just because of me? I don't know. A lot of people are saying dynasty with the Eagles winning. Yeah, I brought that up today, Joe. You're right. This team is much better than 17, especially defense and offense weapons. I agree. Absolutely. 100% agree with both those comments. I agree with you. This team, it's a whole different situation. No, I agree. All right, so let's get into one last thing with the Eagles, and then again on the dynasty stage. Nick Sirianni. Let's talk about him. And the worst thing for me this season, obviously, is the fact that Nick Sirianni is nowhere near out the door that he was at the beginning of the season. And unfortunately, we're going to probably be stuck with him for a while. And again, you can't justify firing. I mean, he should get at least 3 years, for winning the Super Bowl. And I understand that. But some of the stuff I've heard tonight as well, along the lines of Jalen Hurts and the dynasty, has been the play of, or the effect of Nick Sirianni. And this is a different type of, there's no concrete evidence for me to judge either way. I don't think Nick Sirianni had anything to do with what was happening on offense or defense to a lesser extent on offense. Maybe he did, but he had nothing to do with what the team was happening on defense. And some of his antics throughout the season, the yelling at Zach Ertz, the yelling at the fans, the bringing the kids up on the stage, the yelling with his defensive line coach at one point. They're very bad optically and extremely immature. And it's not a look that I think it's not a look that I like. And I don't think the culture that he brings here is great. I think he's definitely a player's coach. I'll give you that. But his antics to me are immature. They're juvenile. But winning masks everything. And winning a Super Bowl, you're not going to be able to take that away from him. He's now the second Eagle head coach in history that's ever won a Super Bowl. And that's something we'll be stuck with for the rest of our lives. But just like I have questions about the impact of Jalen Hurts truly on this team of winning a Super Bowl, how much really did Nick Sirianni impact the team? And I've heard the glue that holds it all together, which I don't even know what that means. I've heard things like he's the greatest head coach ever in history of Philadelphia. I disagree with that because what was the big conversation heading into the season? He's not really a head coach anymore. He's a CEO or a COO, whatever that is all about. So the impact of Nick Sirianni on this team of winning a Super Bowl, what really was it? And, as I said, he deserves 3 years minimum for winning a Super Bowl on top of everything that he's done, because that's what Doug Peterson got. Just gauging that off of what happened to Doug. So at least for the next 3 years, it's going to be more Nick Sirianni. And is Nick Sirianni capable of being a dynasty winning head football coach? And I say head football coach because is he a head football coach under the traditional value of a head football coach? So in the midst of hearing about Jalen Hurts being the best quarterback of all time, in the midst of being, we didn't talk about Nick Foles being the best Eagles quarterback of all time when he won the Super Bowl, but we're talking Jalen. And in the midst of hearing about Jalen Hurts being the best quarterback of all time, and in the midst of hearing about the dynasty, and now in the midst of hearing about Nick Sirianni being the greatest head coach of all time, obviously, as I said at the beginning of the show, a lot of my old narratives are dead, and as they should be. The Eagles shut them down. But thanks to the homers and thanks to the people that over-evaluate and overhype just about everything there is about this football team, there's a whole bunch of new narratives that are going to start to become relative and drive me through the rest of this offseason into the next. Because through it all, and I am an Eagle fan, I will claim that, and I still believe in the spirituality of the Philadelphia Eagles. I still believe what galvanized me as an Eagle fan from the beginning of my life. But I am no closer of getting back in now than I was when I left. I don't believe in the culture of the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't believe in Nick Sirianni. I don't believe in Jalen Hurts, and I don't believe in Howie Roseman. I don't. And I think that if we're speaking dynasty now, and again, I didn't start that. I was prepared to leave that on the ground for a while, but we've already started to talk about it. As far as dynasty goes, these are not the individuals that are going to lead the Eagles into a dynasty. And now that we've gone to this point, 2 Super Bowls in 7 years, 3 appearances in 7 years, 2 titles in 7 years, the next relative question is about being a dynasty. The next relative question is giving the Philadelphia Eagle fans what they deserve, and that's a dynasty of a football team. And being the new norm, as Doug Peterson said many years ago, and actually seeing that through. Are Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, and Howie Roseman the individuals that can provide that? I say they are not. And unfortunately, a broken clock is right twice a day. It was an amazing run to the Super Bowl. It was an amazing finish to a great season. But as the dust begins to settle on this, and you start looking at this thing more from a distance, you're going to see what really propelled this team into the Super Bowl. You're going to see what really propelled this team into the championship. A defense that was operating on some different levels. A running back that was operating off of some different levels. And are those two things sustainable heading into 2025? And what would those things look like if they were not operating the way they were? And if they come off just a little bit, if they come down a little bit, Saquon gets hurt, or if he doesn't have that burst. You know, Spagnuolo shut him down last night. Was that a blueprint on how to stop him? Was it? You know, we won't be able to find that out for 9 more months, but was that a blueprint on how to stop him? But if he comes down off his just a little bit, if that defensive play does not maintain that level, if it just drops a little bit, how does that affect the whole team? And I think when you step back as the dust settles and the confetti settles, which enjoy it now, revel in it, because we're the champs. But as things kind of settle down and we look at the factors that really propelled us to a Super Bowl championship, the play of the defense and the play of Saquon Barkley, are those two sustainable heading into the future to build a dynasty off of? And I think you're going to be very interested in the results that you see. But that's a conversation more for a different day. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles. Congratulations to the city of Philadelphia. Congratulations to the homers out there that live and die or live and breathe their lives in complete denial about this football team. It's your day. You deserve to shout from the rooftops. You're right. I was wrong. And I will enjoy this Super Bowl with you as well. And, we'll reload and try it all again in 2025. And of course, with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, they will have the honor of starting the season off on September 4th, 2025 at home against an undetermined opponent in order to kick off the Super Bowl or kick off their Super Bowl title defense. They'll get the rings. They'll unveil the new flags there at the link. Because the Super Bowl champion gets the opportunity to kick off the season every year. So they get the Thursday night game at home to start the season. Let the contest begin to see who they play. I say it's Detroit. We got the Lions at home this year. I say the NFL does the Eagles Lions to start the season. You heard it here first. And of course, the schedule will come out in May some point. We'll all find out. But anyway, enjoy the season. Or enjoy the Super Bowl, enjoy the championship parade, enjoy everything that comes with being the Super Bowl champs. The Eagles deserved it at the end. And like I said during the pre and the post game show, it doesn't matter anymore about how they got there. It doesn't matter what they'll do beyond there. It's about getting there. It's about how they perform on this particular Sunday afternoon. And they were completely dominant. We didn't even get into the game. I didn't really talk about the game much, but a completely dominating effort from the Philadelphia Eagles, forcing 3 more turnovers, 13 on the postseason, 23 over the last 7 games. Sacked Pat Mahomes 6 times for 31 yards. Ended up scoring 145 points in the postseason. I believe that's a record. Averaging 36.25 points a game in the postseason, and only gave up 77 points, which is less than 20 a game. So no secret of how they won. I'm not going to sit here again and try to put them down for that. Enjoy it. You deserve it. We're the champs, at least for the next almost year until a new Super Bowl champion is crowned. We'll be able to claim that title. And it's an important offseason, as they all are. And now this one even more so, because people want to start using the word dynasty as for the Philadelphia Eagles. So do they have the pieces in place to be a dynasty? I think some of them are in place. I don't think they have them all. Could they get there? Potentially. I don't know. We'll see. But that's a conversation for a different day. And but for now, it's great to be the champs again. I would give Nick a 2-year extension. Yeah, I mean, 2-3 years. Wait, he's got 1 more year left. Right? Yeah, 2 years is about right. That's what I would do, Joe. I think he deserves that. Sirianni doesn't discipline the players. In fact, I'm not sure what he does. Right? Welcome to the club, Barbara. I don't know either. I really don't know either. I think Fat Dom watches everything Sirianni does, reports to Lori. Yeah, I saw Fat Dom give an interview on somebody was interviewing him yesterday at the Super Bowl. Like he had anything to do with the damn game. I mean, what the hell are we doing here, man? Parade gonna be bigger this time around since on Friday. Parade gonna be bigger this time around since on Friday. Wasn't it on a Friday last time? I believe it was. Well, and then don't they lying about the numbers last time? I was there. I wasn't counting people, but it sure as hell was a lot. It looked like over 1 million people to me, Fred. So I will not be there this time. I will not be going to the parade this time around. But I hear Friday is supposed to be a real nice day. The weather's supposed to move out, so hopefully people are probably already lining up on Broad Street. And I guess it's okay now. I guess it's okay to go get your spot on Broad Street. Because it's an inevitability that the parade will be passing by at any day now, as you deserve it in Philadelphia. Wow, that's right. Open up on Thursday night at home, Lions. Yeah, Barbara, and that's one of the. Let's take a look at that real quick. Again, I'm basing this off of the schedule. Here again is that 2025 schedule, Barbara, and everybody else out there, and. I said this when we first started talking about this schedule. This was back in, December and towards the end of the season when it became pretty obvious who they were going to, be a first place team. This is what they're going to be faced with in 2025. So this was motivation for, I know it was motivation for me for them to win the Super Bowl this year because this is going to be a bitch, man. Look at this thing. On the road against Washington, New York, Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, Green Bay, Minnesota, the Chargers, and the Buccaneers. That's their road schedule next year. At home against Detroit, Washington, New York, Dallas, Vegas, Denver, Chicago, and the Rams. So if you're looking for a game, if you're the NFL and you're looking for a game that kick off the 2025 season, and you got to give it to the Eagles because they won the Super Bowl, so they get the first one at home. And you're looking at this list of opponents. I mean, would you not want to stick Detroit, who's probably, a perennial up and coming in there as the first? I mean, what a way to get the season going, Eagles, Lions, first game of the year. That would be a hell of a game. I remember the Lions had that option a few years back. Was it 2 years ago when they opened up against Kansas City when Kansas City had won the Super Bowl? In fact, it was 23. As they were coming off of the Eagles Super Bowl, and Detroit beat Kansas City at home. So, they have some history there. So why not? I say Detroit, Philadelphia, that kick off the season September 4th, Thursday at Lincoln Financial Field to get it going in 2025. So I think that'd be a good game. That'd be a good game, a good way to start the season. And then here, of course, what else are we going to talk about real quick here? Again, we kind of went over the game a little bit more and a little bit brief. I'm going to get into breaking the game down a little bit later in the week because the Birds, God, wrong one. The Birds Blast will be back this week. Me and Kyle will put a cap on the season, and he's going to gloat, which is okay. But we'll be coming at the Birds Blast a little bit later this week, probably around Thursday or Friday. So make sure you're checking us out. All the other great things we have here on the network. Now we're going to be a little bit shorthanded this week because no Flyers games. That's right. The Four Nations tournament is in full swing. So the Flyers are on their all-star break. But we are going to next week at some point come at you with a Flyers mid-season clear the ice special, kind of recapping the first half of the season and looking at a little bit ahead at the second half as Flyers are coming down the stretch of the season. Me, Sal, and Michael are looking to kind of do that for you some point next week before the season begins again. So be on the lookout for that. Sal had you earlier tonight with the wraparound. I hope you guys check that out. And all the other great things we have here on the network. The home of the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. So that's interesting to say that. We didn't do the card review tonight. We'll do it tomorrow. We didn't do the of the night segment. We'll do that as well tomorrow. So make sure you're back for us tomorrow. We have a full rest of the week, broadcasting week, as I will be back every night the rest of this week. No post games. So until we talk again, you guys have yourselves a great rest of your night and an even better tomorrow. And congratulations once again to the Philadelphia Eagles, the 2024-25 Super Bowl champions Definitely deserve it. Truly amazing. We'll talk again tomorrow.
Devil, I'm the DE, I'm the DEVI, I'm the D.